right, good afternoon, evening. It is 6:30 p.m. and we do have a quorum. Welcome to tonight's workshop session of the Lewisville City Council. First up tonight on the agenda is discussion of the consent and regular agenda. We'll go ahead and move through that. We have myself with the invocation. We have Councilmember Meredith with the pledge. I've got a proclamation for United Way Month. We have a presentation from the North Central Texas Council of Governments to our city engineers for our integrated stormwater management program. So great job on that one, guys. We have on the consent agenda approval of the minutes. Item 2, professional services agreement for $59,000 with Kimley Horn. And that's traffic signal at 544 in Killian Middle School.
Speaking of traffic signals,
That's not on the agenda.
tell you what,
That's
Railroad and 121 has been great this past week, so I'll just have to tell you. It's early in the week, but it's been
Good. Item 3, professional services agreement for $102,000 for fire department physical fitness and wellness exams. Item 4, bid awards for annual requirements of water and wastewater treatment chemicals.
I had a quick question about that. And Aaron, I appreciate you leaning in. Liz, if I go too far, let me know. But the pricing on there, between me and AI, you're on William's head here, between me and AI, tried to do a little research on the chemical costs, because it looked like there's $750,000 for chlorine, and it looked like the metric ton cost was a bit out of line with what I've seen out there between me and AI. Can you speak into why that might be?
Yeah, so there's a couple of, I'll go to the primary differences. Mostly, there's the wholesale cost per metric ton. Ours includes a delivered cost, and part of that is really, they also have to guarantee supply even when there are shortages. So that pushes the cost up probably considerably.
Okay.
The other thing I want to point out is we, just to satisfy the Texas Local Government Code, we have to bid those out competitively versus buying those spot market. So that process, it's a competitive bid, but the primary purpose is to ensure fairness and transparency, not necessarily getting the lowest price. So
we had other people that bid on this that were similar.
Right. So we did receive multiple bids, and then through the process we award to the lowest bidder.
Okay.
Through that process.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
And we bid it out based on the chemical, per chemical we bid it out?
Yeah, so the way we bid that out is they have the flexibility to bid on which chemical that they can provide. So we have a primary and a secondary to ensure that we have the supply of those chemicals to make sure that we don't run out. So
Just have one more question about that. When I look back at this, again, the spot prices, it's pretty volatile quarter to quarter for the chlorine. Are we paying this price each year so we're locked in, we're guaranteed that rate? Or do they come back, can they come back and say, well, our costs increased, so we're going to pass it on?
To be honest with you, I'd have to go back and look. I think we're locked in, but I'll have to look and see if there's an Escalade in there.
Okay.
I'll have to follow up with you.
That just popped into my head, so yeah, if you get that, that'd be great. Thank you.
Sure.
Item 5, sale of city-owned property at 195 West Corporate to the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Dedham County. Questions or comments on that?
Can't wait for them to open up.
They are here and ready for that question. Next up, approval of a resolution of the City Council of the City of Lewisville, Texas, approving the draft fiscal year 2026 annual budget. The Denko Area 911 District. For those of you who don't know, we have a Lewisville resident who will be on that board. So Stephen Southwell got elected to the Denko 911 board. Any questions on that? Item 7, consideration of 3 alternative standards to the I-35E corridor overlay district standards associated with building orientation, secondary walkways and loading areas. And this is on the north side of Valley Ridge Boulevard, about 1,000 feet west of North Mill Street.
Are they here?
Yes.
Are they here? Like in the room?
Yeah, okay, yes.
Yes. I have a couple of questions, but I'll save it for out there.
When I was reading this, before I got into the nuts and bolts of it, and I read that you wanted that screening waived, I thought, oh, no, they don't. And then I read it. Thank you. That is a win-win situation for the cemetery and for y'all. So I like that partnership.
That was a 3-hour conversation on a Saturday with the cemetery. It was one of the, I just really enjoyed that. They were great folks. I'm glad we could all help them out.
Yeah, thank
Trees
you.
are way better than a concrete wall for them.
Yes, and thank you for making that partnership. That means a lot.
Mary, did you feel like, I mean, I wasn't sure it was totally clear in the memo about kind of what Ronnie's saying with the interface with the cemetery. Do you want any more information of that?
If you want to walk through, just so we've got it on the.
Richard, do you want to just talk about what this is?
Yeah, the cemetery's kind of on a high point, and this project will require a lot of grading. So once the final grade is established, it'll be about 14.5 feet below the cemetery. So an 8-foot wall would not be very effective.
Sure.
Another option would be to put the wall up near the top, but there's quite a few conflicts with utilities, and there's like a 48-inch Upper Trinity water line that kind of surrounds the cemetery. So we have to be very, very careful in the placement of any walls. And putting up a wall would require complete destruction of existing trees and vegetation. I think 2 sides of it have a pretty solid vegetation screen. Staff did walk it. It's a little thin on the eastern side, and that's where it's going to be filled in with evergreen shrubs and small trees to give it a more natural feel. We just felt walls would not add to the cemetery.
Super. That's why we have these conversations. Other questions on item 7? Item 8, ordinance approving the 2025-2026 annual service plan update and to the services assessment plan and the assessment roll for PID, for the Josie Lane PID. Questions on that one? We do have a report from our city engineer regarding I-35 construction. And do we have any closed session? All right, so that's tonight's agenda. If there are no further questions, we'll go ahead and move into item B, the fire code update. Chief Mark McNeil.
Pardon me, I'm a last minute squeeze in. Chief Legler had a family emergency, so I'm going to do my best, as Claire said, hit this over the end zone, and we're going to do good. So the city currently is on the 2021 International Fire Code. That's the code we've adopted. We're working on right now, just beginning that process of adopting the 2024. That process will take probably a year, could be a little longer by the time we go through legal and getting all the amendments we want to put in. So we've got a few amendments right now that we would like to, we're proposing to adopt currently that will buy us that time until we adopt the 2024 code. So I'll run through these real quickly. So to start off with, code is just catching up with the environment. And so we've added a definition of powered micromobility. This is straight out of the 24 code. So when we adopt the 24, this will already be in there. And then we've taken our smoking definition and we've expanded that to include hookah so that we can have that fall under our smoking ordinance. So the new definition of hookah, we've kind of lined that up with the way we did cigar bars. So we're following that same pattern. We did have a cleanup under cigar bar to make it consistent through the whole code. But both of these establishments require that there's 15% of the revenue comes from whatever type of occupancy is, either cigar or hookah, and those devices required for that. It does allow consumption of food and beverages, including alcoholic beverages, at these locations. It's not a free pass, though. You have to these are done by SUP, so they come before the city, and we have some say on where these locations are and how they operate. Any questions on those in that process? Okay. All right, and so next we get into powered micromobility, and a lot of this has to deal with our lithium batteries that are really becoming prevalent. They're in everything we have, and it's a generally safe power source. But when things go wrong, they can go bad wrong, and so we're trying to catch up and have ways of dealing with this and how to regulate it. So this is talking about the places that you can operate in accordance with this section. So this does not regulate individual occupancy. Single-family residents and even businesses that are charging a device that's for the owner, if it's for personal use, this is not referring to that. This is dealing with the commercial uses of these charging stations. And a lot of it, the most common example is the scooters. So in New York, they've had a lot of problems. The scooter companies will pay residents, individuals, to take a scooter. You charge it, they pay you for it. A lot of them are doing it. They live in these multifamily dwellings, big, high-rise, whatever. They're putting them. They can charge them in a hall, which causes a problem if they catch on fire, or even their residents. And so this is to provide a way of controlling where these charging locations can be and give us some control on that. So there are places, if you're commercial charging places, these are the regulations for that. And you have to have no cords, sufficient outlets, you've got to be able to plug directly into that. No storage of combustible materials. You can't block an access or egress. You must, if the batteries are removable, you can't stack them. That builds up heat, so you've got to have 18 inches, whether they're removable or on the device, 18 inches between places where the batteries are, so that just gives some space in between them. And then they have to have a fire alarm system that is either air aspirating or energy sensing fire detection. So those are a step up. Our normal smoke detectors in your house are they're static, so air just kind of floats up to them, the smoke particles do, and they hit. Air aspirating draws air in, gives earlier detection, same thing with the energy sensing. And then fire safety plans. So you'll see this addressed two places. If they are doing and dealing with lithium batteries, they have to have a fire safety plan so that they've got something in place, what to do if they have an emergency, both for the occupants and helps us when we get there.
But this is just commercial. This
is
isn't
commercial.
single family.
So
it's zero lot line houses and stuff like that. What do we do?
So we don't inspect single family houses. So if a residence took up charging, most likely it would end up in Chris McGinn's group first. They would code would catch something before it ever got to us. We could address it if they're doing commercial charging operations. Certainly we can address that in the single family, but we don't inspect those and we don't regulate. We would probably be second to no before code saw it. And once again, this talks about the batteries themselves. So this is to regulate places that work on the batteries, work on the equipment, and deal with that. This doesn't deal with places like our hardware stores, our merchandising places, that it's the batteries in the original equipment, it's in the original packaging. We don't deal with that. But this is strictly, you have to have you have to have that plan and plan for how to mitigate these emergencies if they occur, if the batteries go bad, if they go into thermal runaway, just to help, what can you do to prevent, to mitigate those problems if they occur. Next is our electric vehicle chargers. So these are popping up all over. Just like in your gasoline fuel pumps, you know, if you look, there's always an emergency shut-off if something goes wrong. That's not required on EV chargers. So we can get there and there's not a good way to shut off. We've got to go find a breaker or something. So we propose putting in a shut-off valve on these, or a shut-off switch, so that we can disconnect power if something goes wrong at these locations. It can be individual or it can be for banks. So if you have a place that has a bunch, you can just shut off the whole supply. Okay, any questions?
Fancy now.
And I added it today, so this technology and me.
Yeah, it's hiding underneath the
No,
display.
turn.
Across Florida, an update from a massive fire at Jacksonville International Airport. Cell phone video showing the airport's parking area engulfed in flames. The fire was reported yesterday afternoon. Firefighters got those intense flames out. No word on any injuries, as many people now wait for word on the conditions of their cars.
So throw that in, I just want to talk about parking garages and some of the challenges we have with those. So in a parking garage, unless it's empty and the car's by itself, if a vehicle catches on fire, we're going to burn multiple. We can't drive our apparatus in them, so we've got to drag hand lines up there or attack it with an aerial master stream device. And there's a lot of challenges with getting to that. If the fuel tank lets loose, then we have burning gasoline that runs and spreads these also. A lot of challenges in putting these out. Even though they're open on the sides, they still have a ceiling that collects that heat. And so they're just a problem for us. And that's just a regular vehicle. If an EV is involved, that can burn up to 3 times hotter than an internal combustion engine. So that damages, and we've had actual collapse of some of these deck above as they burn because they're so hot. And so what we would like to do, we're proposing that we put a sprinkler system in the garages. This is really not a big change from where we have, because every garage we have so far, especially that's been put in the last 5 years, has sprinkler systems. We already have in our code, if the parking garage is wrapped or touches a building, it has to be sprinklered. So what we want to do is just remove the exception that we put in when we started this that has standalone buildings. So it's a parking garage that has at least I think a 26-foot fire lane all the way around it, 24-foot fire lane around, all the way around, not touching any building. Probably not going to happen anyway, just because as we build out, everything's tight. Most of the occupancies that are building these, they want to be able to walk in from the garage into their facility. So all of our garages in Old Town are already sprinklered. We did the Tittle McFadden. I can think of, there's a couple of, maybe 2 full garages that are not sprinklered, but I think everything else in town as far as parking garages are already sprinklered. This just removes that loophole, or it's not a loophole, it's just an exception that we built in to start with. This is the whole reason, because it's a challenge for us, even if it's not touching a building. There's still a big challenge in extinguishing these fires.
But the existing ones will be grandfathered until they make.
We're not, yes, it's not, this is only if you're building a new facility,
yeah.
Yes. And so that's what we just talked about. We just want to. This is another section that we may or may not use. We're going to go ahead and put it in. So EV fires, this goes back to the electric vehicles. We don't have a lot of tools in the toolbox to be able to handle them if they go and the battery compartment is involved. A lot of water is really your best bet is to let it burn if it's out in the open where it can. If it's in where you've got to do something about it, really we've got copious amounts of water, or this tool here. The blanket is not, if the car's already on fire, it's too late for this. This is used if the batteries are off-gassing before we have ignition. It buys us time. It's not going to extinguish, it's not designed to extinguish. All it does is buy us time. It separates and isolates, and hopefully we can get the car pulled out of the way or remove the hazards from around it. Currently, the protection market is chasing the industry, and we have 2 of these in the department. But it's not even fully vetted yet. This is just a tool we have, and it's the best tool we have, but our testing laboratories are not finished going through the process. So we may not use this. It just allows us to require that in the parking garages. The problem, we would carry them on equipment there. I mean, you can get a blanket for $1,000. We would carry them on equipment, but the size of them the space is prohibitive, and so we really can't carry them on all our engines. We're going to have a couple scattered through the department, and you would be waiting on somebody to bring one. With this code, we would have them installed at the parking garages, which is where typically we would have a problem. If it's out in a parking lot or something, we're not going to necessarily need to cover it. We're just going to let it burn if at all possible. So it's a tool we would like to have in place, but not necessarily pull the trigger on it yet. We just want to have it there in case they do test and say, yeah, this is the way to go, then we would ask that to be installed in the garages. Probably the cost on that is minimal for a business. It would be, blanket, like I say, is $1,000. Probably $1,500 for a cabinet and a blanket both. So not a huge cost for somebody, but would be an invaluable tool if you could isolate and buy yourself a little time with those. So, okay. So the next is our fire watches, and it's actually 2 things. So our notice. Currently, if a system goes down, and this is typically where we run into this most often is our multifamily. If a fire system goes down, we notify management, we notify maintenance, and they need to get people on. We can tell them they need to do a fire watch. Typically, right now, the maintenance person will do is the one that gets assigned to do the fire watch for them. There's no obligation to notify the tenants. We can't post something on their property. The management may or may not, but this allows us to actually post notice on the facility so that the residents can see that, hey, just be aware, your system is not working. Individual fire detection systems will work, it's just not the central system. We don't kill those individual detectors, but we would kill the sprinkler system and the actual notification to the fire department. So that gives us ability to post on their premises that the system is down so the residents know. And then the Fire Marshal's Office has developed a technical bulletin. We'll use these in a few places where we can expand on the code and just give explanation on what we're wanting. And so for a fire watch, we're able to say, this is what's required. You can't just give the maintenance guy to walk around and trust him. He's got to document what he's doing. And so there's specific guidelines for that. Can't be under 18. I mean, there's certain things. If it's if there's sleeping quarters, which this is multifamily, or over 3 stories, then you need to do a third-party fire watch. And these are companies, they're all over that they come in and that's what they're hired to do. So we protect the residents that way. It's definitely better protection for the residents, and it's also motivation to get that system fixed quickly and back up and running if they're having to pay for that. So, okay. Floor control valves. So these are simple valves and notification devices that isolate each floor. So currently, and it's typically multifamily. This addresses both multifamily and other commercial, but typically in multifamily, they may install a system that you can't isolate individual floors. So if we have an activation, some of these larger buildings, we can't even tell unless the alarm detection tells us where it's at. We can't even tell exactly where we're flowing water. And so we could have to walk 2 or 3 floors. Floor control valves notifies us where the water's flowing, at least what floor, so we can get there quicker. And then it also, when we've mitigated the problem, we can isolate that floor and still keep the other floors protected. And you only have water off to that one floor until they can get it. So it just provides better protection for the building and provides us quicker notification. Fire control rooms. So this really is just commercial structures. Our multifamily, residential don't have fire control rooms in their system. They have, it's a closet or whatever. But in fire control rooms, the code right now spells out it has to be a minimum of 5 by 7, or it has to be 5 by 7. And so all we want to do is change that to 35 square feet. Doesn't change much, but if we needed a little bit narrower and longer room, that just gives us that flexibility to work with the builder to make that fit. There are other codes and requirements that fit around the risers. There has to be certain spacing around that. So it has to fit within all that, but it just gives us a little more flexibility instead of just a rigid 5 by 7. And then there is a requirement right now. So outside of fire control room, we'll have a horn and strobe that notifies that you have activation. That by code right now, it's 120 inches. And that's great for some building, but that may be behind a tree or something else. It may be something that's blocking visibility, so we want flexibility just to locate that in the place that's most visible from the fire lane, the street, or whatever. So just gives us the fire marshal a little bit of flexibility in where they locate that strobe on there. Doesn't change the other requirement. And then occupant notification. So right now, if you're in, say, a strip center multi-tenant building, each of the tenants has to have the indication that there's been a sprinkler water flow. It may be one riser that supplies a whole building, but there has to be notification in each of the tenants so that they all know that there's something going on. In a large business, warehouse type, they don't have to have that device until they exceed the 300 occupant load for assembly, 500 for manufacturing. And what we want to do is put that in. So these large warehouses, they may have one office located away from the fire control room. They may not know for a while that something's going off until they get a call. We just want them to have one notification device into that fully or constantly attended. It's where the people would be located within those warehouses. So this would be a minimally running wire and one notification device just so that people can hear in those larger buildings. lastly, we have fireworks. So we just cleaned up the fire marshal's office. We changed the location just to clean up the code, and then added in that we are following, if we're seizing fireworks, we're doing it within Texas government code, which provides a lot of restrictions on that. So saying we're following that doesn't really change anything we're doing. And that's all. I talked fast, and I brought Tim. If you have some difficult questions, if you got easy ones, I'll take a swing at them.
Did we have an EV fire recently, the past few months, it seems like?
So we thought it was reported when they called it in that it was an EV fire. It was actually an EV vehicle that she'd pulled in and plugged in, and the fire started, but it wasn't her car. She actually backed out and moved her car.
Okay.
We got there was another car in the garage. The dispatch reported it was an electric vehicle on fire. We see it. We think it's an electric vehicle. And in that, you want to get them out. So we actually hooked the come along to it and pulled it out using the truck. And as they're getting it out and getting the debris pulled out, one of the guys were like, hey, it has a tailpipe. It's not an EV vehicle. So we thought it was, but it was not.
What's the ratio of internal combustion engines that go up versus electric cars? Do we know what that number is?
We don't. So we haven't had an EV fire in the city that I know of. So these things are relatively safe.
I'm just knocking on wood.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just being,
So
I don't know what the number is, but I know that they make the media because they're so relatively rare compared to traditional automobile fires.
Absolutely, and the biggest problem with them is it takes so much to put them out. So it's usually astronomical amounts of water and you still can't put it out, or it's collapsed a parking garage, which has happened, or it burns a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's really the issue, but they're based on the ratio. We don't have it overall, but I'm sure that ratio exists, and he may chat GPT it and have it before we get done.
I'm sure. It's kind of like driverless cars. You hear about those accidents because they're relatively rare, but meanwhile, there's 40 of them that happen today.
Yeah, on your street.
So are we good to move forward with these, bringing them to you for change?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Thanks, Chief. All right, with that being said, we got about 3 minutes, so I'm not going to rush the Visitors Information Center into that. We'll go ahead and take a small break. We'll start up our regular meeting, then we'll come back here for the Vic property plans. All right, good evening. It is 7 o'clock, and we do have a quorum. We're going to call this meeting of the Lewisville City Council to order. First up on the agenda tonight is the invocation. If everyone would please rise and join me in a moment of contemplation and prayer. Amen. Councilman Meredith, would you?
Please join me in the pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor
the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. All right, we do have a small bit of workshop to take care of, so we're going to go ahead and put the regular meeting on pause. We're going to move back into our workshop session to discuss the Visitors Information Center or property plans, and then we will come back and resume our regular session.
Planned presentation for y'all to come this quickly to you, but I'm going to have Aaron come up and talk about some of the structural issues we're having with our current Visitors Information Center. But this is happening at the exact same time that we're creating another Visitors Information Center, that there is planning for creating a display area in the annex with that design for the renovations there, for some memorabilia display and artifacts from Lewisville history. And then there's also been talk, I think several council members here have said there's a desire to activate that Visitors Information Center corner and doing a public-private partnership ultimately there. And how can we activate that better? So with that, I think some of the structural issues with the property is forcing the decision sooner rather than later. And I will have my recommendations at the end. But Aaron, you want to come up and start with your assessment?
So hopefully you can see in the picture there at the top left, you can see really here this beam here is sagging. That was kind of the first indication we had that we had some issues. And so Chris Presley got a structural engineer out to take a look at the building. The first thing they said, they said we needed to do some temporary shoring just to make sure the building is safe. So do want to stress that there are people in the building is safe to occupy. But it is because we did that temporary shoring. So the big issues that they found was we've got structural issues here, and then in addition to that, we've got pretty severe wood rot in the framing and wall studs on the southwest corner and the west wall. And so kind of the result of that on the inside, you see because of movement and those structural failures, you see some separation on the sheetrock there in the inside. But just some pictures of what they found in the building. Significant issues. So if we can go to the next slide. So from a cost standpoint, we did have the engineer give us a cost estimate about $260,000. Because we're very skeptical, we went ahead and had a contractor take a look at that as well, and they gave us a quote for about $250,000. But they said we needed to allow maybe up to about $440,000 to repair that. And if you go back to the previous slide real quick, the reason for that big range is when they start to cut that roof. It's all tied together. When they start to cut that roof, they don't know what's going to happen. So you may have a lot of windows start to pop. You may have significant brick damage. So that was kind of they're advising a big contingency on this. That when we start the demo, it could cause significant damage. So the other side of the coin is demolition. We went ahead and got a quote for that as well. It's about $32,000, and that's the structure and the slab as well.
Before we move to the next slide, I just want to, I was talking with one of the council members about this, and one of the questions asked was, how much is the value of the property currently? And if you remove the current structure, does that devalue the property, just from a point perspective? I think it's important to note, if you are going to demo the building at any point, you're going to see that diminution of value. So the question is, do you want to sink this money in before that? But for that purpose, I think it is important to know that right now, and this is not an appraised value, this is just what DCAT is saying, is it's valued at $1.4 million. The improvements on it are $904,000. So you've got, at a minimum, $251,000 going towards a $900,000 value, or up to $440,000 up to a $900,000 value on that property. When you do remove the building, the fair market value on the property does reduce. Likely we're doing a public-private partnership anyway, and no one's going to be using that building likely with whatever we're going to be partnering on, a public-private partnership. So all those should be data points you're considering.
Mayor, Council. So clearing out the building involves really 3 steps. There are 3 things in the building that need to move: people, storage, and the heritage program. We currently have 7 full-time employees in that building, 2 part-timers that share a workstation. KLB also has some office space in that building. The tourism position and the part-timers are slated to move into the new visitor center in the well house. The other 6, we wanted to try and keep them as close together as we could, especially the events team, keep them in Old Town where the events are. At the very minimum, we want to have 3 and 3. We have found space in this building where we can do 3 and 3. With some renovations, Chris Presley already has found a contractor. I think Chris told me has come in or is about to come in Wednesday. He'll be here Wednesday to take a look at that space. So the people we can accommodate. KLB, I'll leave for Claire. There's options. There's a lot of options for how we honor our long-standing partnership with KLB. Storage. Because of special events, we have a lot more items stored than you might think. 30 plastic cauldrons take up a lot of space, and you can't fold them. I can't really stack them very well either. Right now, they're on a board up near the ceiling. So we found some storage opportunities adjacent to those offices that we talked about. Also possibly on the lower level, there's a room down there we have our eye on. We'll call what we can, but storage is a consideration for us. And then the third is the Heritage Program. We have, I'll say, 3 exhibit rooms, as you probably know. The one for the 1972 Fighting Farmers football team was cleared out because that's where the damage first appeared. And we had a lot of borrowed artifacts in there that we were not going to risk. They've been cleared out. The other 2 rooms are still solid. Plus we have a room for processing and receiving, and we have a room where we just transfer. It's just for convenience. Most of our artifacts are stored by Denton County through an MOU we have with their Office of History and Culture. We keep some books on site because those are good research materials. We do have materials on site that have been received and not yet processed. And we also have found with these rooms and then with the Centennial celebration, there's a great hunger, or at least a great appetite out in the community for a touch of history. We see people walking in for a meeting, they stop to read the displays here or at the library or at Thrive. We have people come in to look at our exhibits over there. So, again, Claire will have more detail, but we believe we have found a way, part of the annex renovation, to include some space that we dedicated for history archive exhibits. Not a full-blown museum that you have to staff and curate and secure, but there would be secure spaces to put some of Lewisville history on display, rotated in and out, so we continue to feed that appetite that we have discovered is pretty strong in our community. So those are the 3 points we're looking at.
James, I have a quick question for you. I know for a while we were talking to that metal detector guy.
Yes.
Are we still talking with him? Is that?
We have his stuff. We have the table.
Good.
Matt's going to be putting that together. He's just been working on some videos and some budget
that's
things.
awesome.
So it'll be sometime in September. It'll be right out here in this lobby.
Awesome. That's great, Mike. Thank you.
Okay. So I added this slide just so that you guys had what my recommendation was going to be. So my recommendation is to move staff and demolish the building within the next 6 months, and to use the property for public parking for the next year or 2, depending on the step 3 timeframe. KLB also currently operates in the Vic, as we talked about. We are trying to find a location for them. They're aware of this, and they've been asking, like, are we going to have a space? We believe there's probably a space in City Hall, potentially with some renovations of an existing office. Honestly, I think in the long run, it might be really beneficial to have KLB, if we can accommodate with the, I'm trying to get a lot out of this annex remodel, so we may not be able to accommodate it, but to have KLB close to municipal court would be very cool. So that people can come right out of municipal court and sign up with KLB for community service. So that's an opportunity I'd like to explore. And then step 2 is to explore design of that annex remodel to include displays of historic memorabilia in the annex lobby. And step 3 is to put out an RFQ for public-private partnership to build and operate a future, could be entertainment, retail, or restaurant use. This is like what DCTA is doing. It's also like what we did with Buffalo Hirsch. We put out an RFQ to see what's out there and if someone's interested in doing something innovative and exciting on that corner. We would come back to council, obviously, and if you didn't like any of these options, we don't have to take any of the options, and we can continue to keep it as a parking lot for the short term or long term, whatever you guys want to do. The one negative is once you build parking, people get very emotional about removing parking. So it would have to be the right project. I will say that whatever project goes there is likely going to need to accommodate parking for the Grand and for some of the businesses over there. So this may be a public-private partnership in the future with a parking garage, whatever that looks like. I don't know. It depends on who's proposing on it. And then there's also the interest of what out there could possibly capitalize on the fact that it's right next to an art center. Could we have uses that are arts related or performance related, smaller music venues that may be privately run? Those are going to be hard to come by, but if we give economic development the time that they need to actually go find that kind of unicorn, they may be able to find that unicorn. I think putting them within a time frame of a year, may not be to find that unicorn, but we can do an RFQ and come back to you, and you guys say, nope, let's keep looking for the right thing, and we can do that. So that's my recommendation, but I definitely want to hear from council what you're interested in.
Well, you already know that I'm supportive of what you're recommending, because I've been talking about it for years. I think that piece of property is so important because it's what you see as you're coming into Old Town. I don't like the idea of having parking there really in the short term, just a parking lot. I think that sets a negative tone. But I would be okay with it being a temporary parking lot as long as people are aware that it's just temporary. That property does have some challenges with some different grades kind of across it. But, so I wouldn't necessarily want to sink a whole bunch of money into building it all into one parking lot, because there's kind of, are there 2 or 3 different parking lots in there right now, because the elevations are different and they're not connected. So I don't know what the plan is for that.
I think they might be connected at this point.
There's one that's
very
low, right? Yeah, is that connected to?
No, ma'am.
Can you get, okay.
We added a parking lot where there was an old house before, and those are connected to the visitor's information, but there's also one lower.
But it's disconnected from the one
Correct.
that's behind the Grand.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's not going to be just one big parking,
yeah.
because we're not going to go in and try to fix all of that, right?
This is just a temporary.
Okay.
The other benefit I see and I forgot to mention this earlier, from the temporary standpoint is you've got Baja Cantina that's trying to come in again. You've got that Italian restaurant. There's not a lot of visibility right now for those businesses because you have a building that's separating them. When you come into Old Town, you have to make the full turnaround to get there. There could be a value, an economic value to those businesses to see that. Plus you've got Buffalo Hirsch and you've got Ethel James that's going to be coming in, all really trying to capitalize on this parking lot that's there. So there's a value in the short term.
I definitely feel like there's, what I want to see is not people driving past the restaurants. I want something that's going to activate and bring pedestrians down that way. So in the long term, in which I think is what the plan is, and so I'm good with that. Because I think that's ultimately what's going to benefit the restaurants and Buffalo Hirsch and all of that. And I definitely think that incorporating a parking garage into that is going to have to be something that happens.
I like, if you've gone to Grapevine and you've seen the outdoor elements that they have in the circle, the tribal stuff, before the building and the food court, people gravitate to that area. It's got all the statues. I mean, it's wonderful. That's what I envision.
I'm sorry, I'm not following. Statues?
On Main Street in Grapevine.
Have you been there? Have you
I
seen?
know what you're talking about.
You're talking about the sculpture garden?
The sculpture garden.
On Main Street or on the end?
No, it's like, it's on Main Street.
Yeah.
It's past
It's
the
where
railroad
It's
tracks.
where they put all the holiday, where you can get your pictures.
Okay.
like the snow
Yeah,
globes
it's on the corner of, is that Texas or is that Dallas or what is that? It's beautiful and people congregate.
So you're wanting more of a public space, a plaza, not a public-private partnership.
I want a building there with a parking garage.
We may need to have a work session on that.
Or we can do a RFQ,
I
y'all can decide.
I don't want something to be competing with the plaza.
Oh, well, that is true.
I think you're on the right track here. I really think your estimate's probably really low at 440. I don't see anybody stepping on this site for less than 500 grand. And you're gonna have, basically what you're finding, you're gonna have to rip off all that drywall on the inside or x-ray that, and then you're gonna end up wishing you hadn't done that.
Yeah, you really are.
So I've
This
seen
is just the beginning.
This before with metal studs, and we had a small amount of scope, and then it turned into a big. Once we ripped the drywall off, it turned out to be
There's no telling what you're gonna find between those walls.
Now when we couldn't tear down, so now we're fixing it. Came in with the windows, coming in with the weep holes. So I think you're gonna spend way more than $500,000 here.
Patrick?
Is there any sign of mold in the building?
we should start ripping through there.
I bet it is. I'm sorry, we have not seen any visual evidence of mold.
But we had a house that was almost totaled, believe it or not, because of black mold, and you don't know until you get the drywall out. That,
It's possible.
that rot came from something and it wasn't the sunlight.
It's either a window leak or a wall leak, or it's coming into the weed poles.
So it could be
So
in between and in the
it's coming into
insulation.
the weed poles, it's all that bottom thing is gonna be rotted out, so we need to start over there.
Other questions, comments?
How old is that structure, do you know?
Oh, God. That was a Chamber of Commerce thing 50 years ago.
Not very good.
It's really, I mean,
Almost 50
relatively
years ago.
speaking, it's not that old.
No.
It's just not in great shape, it's in bad shape.
It needs to go.
I think you got consensus. I'm looking for hitching posts.
I'm gonna get you there someday.
You want hitching posts for
Look at all the weddings that go on down here. You come down here, you get a hitching post. Because you're getting hitched. Come on. Come on!
No, we have enough wedding stuff.
I was thinking of. All right, we are done because Liz is going to give me the side eye. Move back into regular session. Thank you, Council.
Elvis check?
Let's try that again. There we go. All right, good evening and welcome back. We're going to back into regular session. First thing on tonight's agenda, can I have my United Way team come on up? It's that time of year already. Yeah, let's make sure the boss gets up here. All right, so this time of year, it becomes because we got another board member in here. That's how that works, absolutely. So what I'd like to do tonight is to recognize that we have United Way Month coming up here for September. And so I'm going to read a brief proclamation and then have these folks kind of give a little bit more background about why this is so important. So Mike, how are you? Welcome. I'm good. All right, so, and you know me and whereases. If y'all want to sing along, you're welcome to it. So, whereas United Way of Denton County improves lives by mobilizing communities like Lewisville to actions so all can thrive, and United is the way we create a healthy Denton County community with strengthened resilience, wellness, and financial security where everyone, regardless of age, has the opportunity to flourish. And whereas, by working together to co-create solutions to people's most pressing challenges, United Way of Denton County positively impacts the lives of over 54,000 local residents annually. And whereas United Way of Denton County leads the effort with a network of nonprofits, governments, businesses, and donors to respond to our neighbors' immediate needs and seek out better solutions for larger community-wide issues. Now, therefore, I, T.J. Gilmore, Mayor of the City of Lewisville, on behalf of the Lewisville City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of September 2025 as United is the Way Month in Lewisville, Texas, and urge all residents of Lewisville to give to one, to impact many as we take action to create a future where everyone has a chance to thrive. Let's give the United Way a hand because they do amazing work in Denton County. And I have Mike Martinez, part of the board. Mike, if you'd like to say a few words.
I will. Mayor,
right.
Thank you so much
Appreciate
for the
you.
acknowledgement. And thanks to the town and the city of Lewisville for making this acknowledgement. It's great to be part of the community and to have you giving your support to us. Thank you.
No, we're good. We're good. All right. Thank you. One more. Next up on tonight's agenda, we have Ms. Susan Alvarez, Director of Environment and Development Department, and Caitlin Hunter, Environment and Development Planner 2 with the North Central Texas Council of Governments, to present the Integrated Stormwater Management Silver Award. And you're not either one of them. We have our City Engineer, David Salmon, and Assistant City Engineer, Jeff Kelly.
Yes, I just wanted to provide a little bit of context for the status that we've been awarded. Back when the development code was being developed, our new development code, we were also working on a new drainage criteria manual. And that manual was approved and we're using it today. The manual was submitted to the North Central Texas Council of Government for review, and they have awarded our drainage manual the silver status in the iSwim program. So they're here tonight to present us with that status. I also wanted to mention that Jeff Kelly, our Assistant City Engineer, was the project manager on that manual, and so most of the credit goes to him. But at any way, we'll turn it over to the COG staff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Gilmore and Council. My name is Katie Hunter, and I'm a planner at the North Central Texas Council of Governments, or NCTCOG. I am honored to be here before you tonight to present you with the Integrated Stormwater Management, or ISWIM, certification. The NCTCOG Public Works Council is pleased to announce the City of Lewisville's achievement and designation as a certified Silver ISWIM community. The ISWIM program is a regionally recognized cooperative initiative that helps cities and counties achieve their goals in 3 areas: water quality protection, stream bank protection, and flood mitigation. By becoming a certified ISWIM community, the City of Lewisville has demonstrated that you uphold these standards in your engineering regulations and development ordinances. As of today, you are one of 11 certified ISWIM communities, which include the cities of Arlington, Salina, Corinth, Denton, Fort Worth, Frisco, Grand Prairie, Irving, Kennedale, and Plano. NCTCOG would like to recognize one of your staff members, Jeff Kelly, Assistant City Engineer, who has played a pivotal role in this achievement. We'd also like to recognize Mayor TJ Gilmore, who currently serves on the NCTCOG Executive Board. We are very fortunate to have champions of the ISWIM program in Lewisville. To commemorate this achievement, NCTCOG is presenting the City of Lewisville with a plaque and street signs to display where you choose. Congratulations on this outstanding achievement in environmental stewardship and responsible development management.
Very nice. Is that going to go in your neighborhood? Those are great. And as our city manager has reminded me, of course, this is a direct output of the sustainability plans that we put in place over the Lewisville 2025 plan, and this is what drives that. And being one of 11 communities, and of course the COG covers 16 counties, so that is a very high praise, and we are thankful for the COG for creating the structure to help us continue to move forward. So we appreciate you. With that, we'll go ahead and keep moving on. Next up on our agenda is our visitors forum. Speakers must address their comments to the mayor rather than to individual council members or staff. Speakers should speak clearly and state their name and address prior to beginning their remarks. Speakers will be allowed 5 minutes for testimony. Speakers making personal, impertinent, profane, or slanderous remarks may be removed from the meeting. Unauthorized remarks from the audience, stamping of feet, whistles, yells, clapping, and similar demonstrations will not be permitted. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, the City Council is restricted from discussing or taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Action can only be taken at a future meeting. I do not have any request for public visitors forum. So we'll go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. All the following items on the consent agenda are considered to be self-explanatory by the council and will be enacted with one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a member of the public so request. For a member of the public to request removal of an item, a speaker card or e-comment must be filled out and submitted to the city secretary. I do not have any motions to remove anything from the consent agenda, so I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
I have a motion and a second. Council, please vote. Consent agenda is approved unanimously. Item G7. This is a regular hearing, consideration of 3 alternative standards to I-35E corridor overlay district standards associated with building orientation, secondary walkways, and loading areas on 26.84 acres located on the north side of Valley Ridge Boulevard, approximately 1,000 feet west of North Mill Street, legally described as Valley Ridge Business Park East, Block B, lots 3, 4, and 6, zoned light industrial district as requested by Constellation REP. The applicant on behalf of the owner, Lewisville Dev LPS. Case 25-03-4-ALT-STD. A concept plan for this site was first submitted on October 21st, 2024, prior to adoption of the supplemental standards for warehouse distribution and manufacturing uses. The following 3 alternative standards are requested. A, to modify the building orientation of Building 1 in lieu of the orientation required by the UDC Section 6.8.1.C.2.B to be parallel to Valley Ridge Boulevard, and B, to reduce the minimum 12-foot wide secondary walkway required by the Unified Development Code, Section 6.8.1.C.3.B, to 8 feet wide in front of Building 1 and to 10 feet wide in front of Building 2, a 33 and 16.7% reduction, respectively, and C, to waive the required screening of the loading spaces from the adjacent cemetery as required by Section 6.8.1.C.6.A, a 100% reduction. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended unanimous approval 7-0 of the alternative standards A and B on July 15th, 2025, and recommended unanimous approval 7-0 of alternative standard C on August 5th, 2025. It's recommended that the City Council approve the 3 alternative standards set forth in the caption above. I do have Mr. Richard Lutke, our Planning Director, available for questions. I also have Mr. John Delvac. My apologies if I got that wrong. He is available for questions representing Constellation.
I have a couple things, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So first off, I want to make clear, there was discussions with the Fox Henry family and the board about, because this abuts right up to that cemetery, right? And I saw the letter. They're in support of this project.
That is correct.
And the reason for removing the retaining wall or the wall standard is because it's going to be 14 feet below where it is today. So the wall's 8 foot is the requirement. It's not going to do any good anyway.
That is correct.
And
even if the wall was effective, we felt that live screening would be more aesthetically pleasing and complementary to the cemetery.
I will tell you, when I first saw this, because this is a pretty big development. There's nothing that big in that area, except for if you go across 35, there's a pretty big development over there right now. So Stereotech, I think, was the biggest thing I saw over there, which is about a third that size, perhaps, and it seems to have very small traffic coming in. There's a lot of bays, it looks like, on here. So how many bays are we talking about?
76 bays.
And we're confident that street is going to let 18-wheelers rumble up and down, be fine with that?
Yes, the engineering staff has reviewed the associated engineering site plan and have determined that Valley Ridge is a major traffic carrier, being a 4-lane divided, and that it is adequate and acceptable for the amount of traffic that could potentially be generated by this site. The engineering staff has not identified any potential problems associated with the proposal.
And this is a prospective development, right? So there's not a company coming in and building. This is a prospective development, and they're probably going to attract 3,
Correct.
4, or 5 different tenants, right?
Potentially could be multiple tenants. Typically, this type of building in other areas of the city does have multiple tenants.
Okay. I'll tell you, when I see a project this big in that area, when there's nothing really like it in that area, there's some housing around it. I guess nobody here is to speak it. Nobody's speaking against it from the housing area over there, so they don't seem to be too concerned about it, it seems. But it's really big, and I know we adopted some ordinance that require SUPs. That doesn't apply here, right? This is Can you talk to why that is?
Correct. This project was, the first step of the development process was submitted in October, well ahead of the December amendments that were made, and then in February is when the SUP requirement, potential SUP requirement came into play based on distance requirements. So therefore, this project is vested to the requirements that were in place at the time in October.
Awesome.
So they have met 100% of all requirements except these 3 alternative standards.
Awesome. Now that I've kind of gone through the concerns that I had, I am kind of excited that there'll be more traffic out there by Fox Hambury, because I know that this becomes an illegal dumping ground, and I'm hoping that increased activity out there will help serve as a barrier and discourage people who dump shingles, doors, construction material, anything else you can think of after doing several cleanups out there. Hopefully that will help with that issue.
I'd like to add, too, that the applicant is providing an access easement from Valley Ridge to provide a little bit more direct access to the cemetery, so they will no longer have to use the narrow gravel road that extends along the railroad tracks all the way out to Mill Street. That's part of the problem as well.
Awesome. Just out of curiosity, are there going to be cameras on site out there that could also maybe keep an eye on that road back there that people use to dump? Do we know? It doesn't make a difference. I'm just curious.
Yeah, that's not really determined on the plans. That would be something that would be up to the property owner.
Right. So they're here right now, right? So I'm just asking the question if somebody could speak to it. Any plans for security cameras?
Are you talking about on Whitlock?
Because it's multi-tenant, we don't actually order the internet circuit to be able to put the cameras.
Okay.
Monitor Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Or closed circuit. But actually, once the new road is built, if the road that continued along on the railroad property, Mill Street,
right,
someone can actually gate that off.
Okay.
Because it won't be needed anymore.
Okay. Awesome. It has no bearing other than I was just curious, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
So, and I'm sorry, Mr. Delvac, are you Mr. Delvac? Okay, if you wouldn't mind coming up to the front, just naming it, otherwise my city attorney's gonna, her teeth are itching.
And we would love for you to repeat what you said.
And if you could just briefly repeat what you said about the cameras being local to the individual businesses.
Sure. So it's just as stated before, speculative development. So the tenants that move into the building order their internet circuit. So until there is one, there really isn't internet for Wi-Fi to put up cameras like that. So for construction security, we usually use solar cameras just to keep people from either dumping illegally or taking things that they shouldn't. But really, when the project is finished and the new paved route up that goes due north to the current gravel driveway, once that's done, I don't know why the railroad's property where that gravel road continues to Mill Street behind the other businesses, that's railroad property. So no one actually has an easement there. So I don't know why the city wouldn't just gate that off.
Right.
Okay.
Or the railroad could.
That's a good point.
And also, it doesn't affect the Upper Trinity's easement to get onto their pipelines either.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that.
Appreciate that. Thank you for your flexibility, sir.
Say something.
I was just gonna, since Patrick brought it up, I don't want to belabor the point too much, but I did want to mention, there are some residential properties. It's hard to tell from the map how far that distance is, but knowing that this property, when it's fully graded, is going to be 14 feet below the cemetery, and then you have railroad right-of-way, and then it looks like there's a pretty decent buffer between the railroad itself and that neighborhood. I don't think this neighborhood's even going to see this development. Possibly the buildings, they won't see the parking lot, for sure.
I don't think they'll see it.
So, I feel pretty comfortable with that. I also echo the comments made about, I'm glad there's going to be a little more eyes on the property to, maybe help with, right now people go out there to dump things because there's nothing out there. I have a concern about, do we know if there are any people that are kind of living out on that property? I know that there has been in the past. they obviously
Kristen,
are
you're
not
talking about
there
the homeless
legally.
encampment?
Yes, but just that we, before construction starts, can we sweep the property and make sure that there's nobody that's gonna end up out there when construction starts?
I know in similar sites that had a similar situation, the contractors have been, have worked with the city and PD and social service agencies to make sure that that appropriate steps will be taken.
Yes, that's what I'm suggesting, is that we get our PD involved, and social service agencies would be great as well, because I think there's a good likelihood that there are some people living out there.
We'll definitely do that.
That's all I have.
Other questions or comments? Yeah, I think that drop-off on the south side of Valley Ridge is pretty significant as well for that neighborhood on the south side. So they sit pretty far below grade. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
Claire, did you have something to say?
I was just, you didn't hear me, Mayor, so it's okay.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no, it's fine. I just wanted to thank staff for this. This has been, and the applicant for working with staff, but this cemetery and the dumping situation has been a long time issue since I first came to the city of Lewisville 13 years ago. And the partnership that our staff has shown with this family, the trust they've built, and then having a developer who's willing to partner has also been refreshing. So thank you.
Yeah, our Cub Scouts are going to have to find a new place to pick up trash, because this will be off the list, hopefully. But we appreciate you. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move to approve the 3 alternative standards as set forth in the caption.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There you go. You can also just vote on the electronic thing. Sorry, autopilot. I have 6-0. Motion passes. Thank you very much for your time. I do want to roll back to our item 5, just briefly, that was on consent agenda. We did have Boys and Girls Club here available for questions. I want to at least recognize that they were here and thank them for taking the time. But since it was on consent agenda, there was nothing to actually ask questions about at that point. All right. Item 8, consideration of an ordinance of the City of Lewisville approving the 2025-2026 annual service plan update to the service and assessment plan and assessment roll for public improvement for the Josie Lane Public Improvement District with Chapter 372 Texas Local Government Code as amended. On October 6, 2014, the city created the Josie Lane Public Improvement District for the construction of street and wastewater improvements in a designated area located along Josie Lane, north of FM 544 and south of Windhaven Drive. The city adopted an amended and restated service and assessment plan to amend the initial collection date for Phase 2 west of the district. State statutes require an annual update to the service plan and assessment roll be considered and approved by the City Council to provide for the annual levy and collection of special assessments. The plan identifies public improvement costs to be provided by the PID along with the manner of assessing the property in the PID and the assessment roll. The plan is required to be recorded with the county clerk within 7 days of approval and passage. It's recommended that the City Council approve the ordinance as set forth in the caption above. Council, I'll entertain a motion if there's no conversation or discussion.
Motion to approve the ordinance as set forth in the caption.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Council, please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Item H, reports. Reports about items of community interest regarding no action will be taken. We're going to start off with City Council reports. After, we have our staff report from City Engineer David Selman regarding the I-35 construction.
Well, all I can say is fasten your seatbelts, figuratively and literally. The first thing I wanted to mention is that TxDOT is getting ready to remove the signals at Edmonds Lane on Main Street. And in addition, they'll be putting up some temporary barrels across the median opening.
Can you talk more into the mic?
Can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. The TxDOT will be closing the median opening and removing the signals at Edmonds Lane on Main Street. beginning on Wednesday at 9 a.m. Of course, eventually they'll permanently close that median opening with a solid median, but they're going to do it with barrels starting out. So that'll happen on Wednesday. Also happening on Wednesday, August 20th, they're going to start preparing the new Main Street Bridge over I-35, and they will be shifting traffic over to the new bridge. This coming weekend, they plan to start demolition of the old bridge over I-35, which means that over the weekend, there will be total closures of I-35 and traffic will be routed to the service roads. And that'll be happening on this coming Saturday evening and on Saturday and Sunday evening. So they intend to have the road back open by Monday morning.
David, the median that will be extended, that will come across Edmonds, that will make it so that you can no longer turn left going westbound. Is that going to be a full-size median? Do we have any images of that, or is that going to be more like the little curb-style median that southbound frontage road when you turn right onto Main Street?
Well, it'll be a full median. I don't recall specifically how wide it's going to be.
Okay.
But it is going to be a full raised median. I don't remember whether there's grass in the center or concrete, but it's going to be a substantial median.
Okay.
It'll be right turn in and right turn out.
Right turn in, right turn out, yep.
So there's going to be no left from, if you're coming across the bridge, you can't take a left onto Edmonds either.
No.
Correct.
Okay, so no lefts at
no left
Edmonds
turns,
at all?
No left
At all.
turns.
And the main reason for that is that, the southbound frontage road is going to be moved over toward the west by several feet. And so obviously right now that distance between the frontage road and Edmonds Lane is pretty short, especially to have two signals like that. It's going to become even much shorter distance between those two with the new I-35 construction. So it would be virtually impossible to have two signals that close together.
You know, Mayor, we discussed this way back in the 90s. We had major discussions about how that eventually was going to have to be closed. We had openings all up and down Main Street on the east side of the highway as well, and you notice that there are very few openings now. But we had to go through that in the heartburn of doing that median and getting people used to different routes. Mm-hmm. So it can be done, it's going to be safer, and the traffic flow is going to be a lot better for people.
I'm hopeful. I also am worried that we're going to get a lot of cut through, trying to get through the Walmart intersection through the Fiesta parking lot to get onto Edmonds. So I'm hopeful that that doesn't happen, but I'm going to anticipate we're going to see some cut
I can
traffic.
see them doing Purnell, so.
I hope that's what they choose to do.
Yeah.
So. That or they just need to stop at Fiesta and do some extra shopping. So, all right. That is the end of reports from our city staff. Councilmember Green?
Actually, that was what I was going to talk about, so I've got nothing to report.
All right. Councilmember Timpson?
I have nothing.
Councilmember Cade? Councilmember Meredith?
Yes, some library activities for the week. Booked for Murder Book Club for adults Tuesday, August 19th, 2 to 3 p.m., small conference room, no registration is required. Painted Brick Books for adults Thursday, August 21st, 6 to 7:30, Saturday, August 23rd, 2 to 3:30 at the Crawford Meeting Room, and registration is required. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, sir. Councilmember Troyer?
Yes, I have a number of items for the Lewisville Grand Theater. First of all, performance Old Town Neighbors, presented by the City of Lewisville and Lewisville Playhouse. That'll be on September 13th, 14th, and then 19th through the 21st, with 2 performances on the 13th and the 20th. And then several exhibitions, Through the Lens, a photographer's journey, presented by the City of Lewisville, that is now through September 27th. Fresh Ideas 2025, presented by the Visual Art League of Lewisville, through September 13th. And then Historic Landmarks and Relics, artwork by Murphy Mantha, excuse me, presented by the City of Lewisville, August 23rd through September 26th. And that's my report.
Thank you, sir. City Manager? All right. Just want to remind everybody, school's back in
Mayor,
session.
yeah.
Oh, I got to go all the way to the other end. Sorry, Councilmember Kelly, my apologies. I do that every time I start in the wrong spot.
No worries. So I was tempted to say no report after all that again, but I actually do have a couple things. So really, I'm looking out across the front row here, and I just want to take a minute to express gratitude, because I think I pummel a lot of folks in the front row with questions quite a bit, and I know over the past probably week or so, there's been an influx of those. So, Stacy, thank you for taking time to answer the questions thoroughly and thoughtfully. Aaron, same thing. Everybody up who takes a minute to actually address the citizen concerns that I pass along to you, and then copy us back over. I always find the responses to be very well thought out, make perfect sense, even for things that looked obvious to me and the citizens at one juncture. But when we hear the other side of that, we go, oh, well, now we know what's going on with that. So Chief Rollins as well. So I just want to take a minute to express some gratitude and thank you for that. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. We had an amazing police awards banquet this past week, so really, really excited to see the continued growth as well as the facility. We had a great tour with the mayor of Denton. He came through and wanted to see what we were doing, so I guess we're going to continue to, you guys just going to need to, I think, build in 2 or 3 hours a week just for all these stragglers to come do tours, I think. The great job, way to go for the police department, and I really appreciated the opportunity to be there as well. You guys do great work. Kids are back in school. School zones are starting to flash all those yellow lights, and even if they're not flashing the lights, you are responsible for attending to the times that are there and the speeds. So please take that under consideration. There is no reason to go tearing like a maniac through the city streets. I would be hopeful that everybody would take a moment, because it's amazing how it's never you and it's never your neighbors, and yet everybody's doing it. So maybe we need to all check our speed a little bit. With that, I do not think we have any further agenda items. There's nothing else as far as action items to be taken on tonight's agenda, so we stand adjourned. That's 7:52.